us this morning. News that the country is receiving, losing Bob Collymore at this time, a man who has battled cancer for many, many years. What does his death signify in terms of the brunt of cancer in the country now?
Cancer is real, and cancer is a very, very big burden to this country. All kinds of cancer. To tell it properly, there is cancer. The only two organs that don't get cancer is the hair that is cut off and the nails that are cut off. Every other system in the body can get cancer, whatever it is. And it is a very, very devastating disease. Not only is it very painful, it's also very, very expensive to have to deal with cancer.
Right, absolutely. Many have alluded to, even on social media, that the high and mighty, like Bob Collymore, could still succumb to cancer. So it is not about the money. Let's talk more about the disease and the social impact it has had on Kenyans.
It's such a devastating thing to families. The baddest thing that somebody can do is look after somebody with cancer. It is so draining. It is very painful for the patient. It's very devastating for the caretaker, the caregiver, the close family, because much of the time when it is discovered a bit late, there is nothing that can be done except help control the pain, and that sometimes even becomes impossible. It's a terrible state to have somebody with cancer.
But like you mentioned, when it is discovered late, then nothing can be done. So there is hope for cancer when it is discovered a lot earlier, again, depending on the kind of cancer that it is. But what are the chances of cancer survival for those who would want to know?
Like this cancer of the leukemia. The leukemia is cancer of the blood, and there are different types of blood cells. And usually the one affected is the white cell. So what happens is that the cells just start to multiply too fast for no reason and become unable to perform the things they should perform. Somebody starts getting a lot of infections because the white cells are not fighting. Somebody starts getting anemia because then the rest of the bone marrow is not producing red cells well, and somebody can start bleeding from the gums. So if somebody were to start seeing they are brushing their teeth, they are bleeding. For women, they are starting to bleed too heavy, the periods, or they are anemic for whatever reason. They are being unable to concentrate. They are being told they've got anemia, or they've got nodes, lymph nodes anywhere. They need to see a doctor very quickly, because even leukemia discovered early can actually sometimes be cured.
Right. And I remember Bob Collymore being very vocal about his journey and about his health. And, when he came out telling Kenyans that he had cancer, he also mentioned his journey. And at first, he was misdiagnosed as having vitamin D deficiency. And cases of misdiagnosis in cancer are quite common. What leads to that?
Because there are many things that would mimic cancer. For example, the leukemia, the vitamin D deficiency would mimic cancer. So many things can be called cancer. Even other systems that have cancer, they can be mimicked by things like diabetes. Somebody just is diagnosed with the wrong thing and not early enough.
Right. What harm then can misdiagnosis cause? Because many then go many years treating a disease that does not exist.
When it does exist, the cancer does exist, and it's not diagnosed, then the trouble is it gets to a point where it is now not curable. Whatever you do, however much money one has, whatever the resources, it's not then curable.
Right. Let's talk about the systems and infrastructure that we have in the country to fight cancer right now, from the personnel all the way to the equipment, because many times we will see the high and mighty, or those who are, have deeper pockets, will leave the country to seek medical treatment abroad, begging the question, what is wrong with our healthcare system that many have to leave the country?
Well, there is just not enough. There is not enough expertise, there is not enough machinery in this country to deal with cancer as such. If we look at the people who deal with cancer, they are called oncologists. We have very few in this country. In fact, I'm not very sure, but I don't think we've gone beyond 10 of them in this country. So, and then the machines that would irradiate that cancer, are very few. They are only found in the major hospitals. So it becomes such that the most people cannot be managed. If you have the irradiation to be done, you wait several months before you can get on the queue, because there are so many people ahead of you. So, and then as it is, the cancer is still spreading.
Right.
So that's the problem.
Right.
Yeah.
The mental well-being of a cancer patient, but also a cancer caregiver, is quite important. I'm sure he had, a very close team with him. Many going through cancer will have that. But what about the mental well-being of the caregivers after a death like this one?
They need psychological support. They really do need a psychologist, and the close family needs to be counseled very thoroughly, because it's a big thing. To have watched somebody go through cancer and die of cancer is very, very hard.
Right.
Very hard.
So acute myeloid leukemia, that is what Bob Kolimo was diagnosed with.
Yes.
Let's talk about the more common kinds of cancer that you would find in the country for both men and women.
Leukemia isn't the commonest. Like for this country, the commonest for women would be breast cancer. That's the commonest cancer we have, followed by cervical cancer. For men is the prostate, and followed by the liver, and then the gastrointestinal. So leukemia is not the very, very most common.
All right. And I mean, still, a lot of misconceptions, a lot of myths, are associated with cancer. Some say herbal medicine will do the trick. Some say perhaps chemotherapy fastens, your death. There's a lot of misconceptions about that. But how soon should one seek treatment, and what kind of treatment should one seek?
As soon as one is diagnosed, one actually, any suspicion of anything going wrong, somebody goes to hospital. If they are thought to have cancer, then they start treatment like immediately.
Right.
Because the earlier it is started, the better. Now, herbal medicines, I have heard about them, but let's say this, that all medicines come from herbs and things, but there is a way of treating cancer that is specific. So it shouldn't be that every other herbal medicine is being tried. It should be as soon as they are diagnosed, they see an expert in cancer and get treated.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What about the demographic? Who is more prone to getting cancer now in Kenya, according to the statistics?
Actually, cancer is across. It doesn't choose the poor, it doesn't choose the rich. It's not in any county. It's everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, very frightening that, the only body parts that do not get cancer is the hair that gets cut off and the nails that get cut off. But doctors would argue that prevention is better than cure. So how do you prevent cancer? We're hearing of cancer of the jaw, cancer of the eye. There's literally cancer of everything. How do you prevent that?
When we talk about cancer cervix, we shall talk about prevention. Literally all other cancers, the only way to do is to get screened and catch it early. Because all the other cancers start off as cancer. So the only hope is that it is caught early when it's still treatable.
All right.
Yes.
All right. All right. Let's take a look at some more messages of condolence coming here for the late Safaricom CEO.